Mr. Labange. With Mr. Labange, we now have a quorum. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alarcon, Cardenas, Grullhan, Weezer, Labange, Parks, Perry, Reyes, Rosendahl, Smith, Weiss, Westenstein, Garcetti. 10 members present and a quorum, Mr. President.
First order of business, please.
Approval of the minutes.
All right, Mr. Rosendahl moves. Mr. Weezer seconds. Without objection, those minutes will be approved. Next order of business.
Commendatory resolutions for approval.
Mr. Alarcon moves and Ms. Perry seconds. Without objection, those two will be approved. If we can run through the agenda, please.
First item on the agenda is an item notice for public hearing. It's a street vacation in Council District 2, and the recommendation for council action is to instruct the city engineer to proceed with the vacation.
Okay. If nobody wishes to call that special without objection, we will move ahead without instruction to the city engineer. Please prepare the roll and tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
That is approved. Next item, please.
Next items are items for which public hearings have been held, items 2 through 6. On 2 and 3, those are ordinances. Do you wish to hold those on the desk for 12?
Yes, let's hold those on the desk till Mr. Parks or Ms. Hahn is here. Again, Mr. Parks and Ms. Hahn, we are awaiting you in council chambers. If you can please make your way down for our ordinances. That leaves us with 4 through 6. Council members, anybody wishing to call 4 through 6 special? Mr. Rosendahl? Okay. Mr. Rosendahl calls 6 special. That leaves us 4 and 5. If nobody wishes to call those special, let's go ahead and prepare the roll on the balance and tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Items 4 and 5 are approved. Next items, please.
Next items are items for which public hearings have not been held, items 7 through 13. 10 votes are required for consideration.
Okay. We have cards on 12 and 13. And 11 we have cards as well. We'll open and close the public hearings on 7 through 10. Ms. Perry?
I just want to have the item 9 go forth with, please.
Okay, as soon as we vote on that, if nobody else wishes to call special, let's take up 7 through 10. Please prepare the roll and tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Those are approved. 9 will be sent forthwith per Ms. Perry's motion. Next item, please.
Next items, Mr. President, are closed sessions, 14 and 15. And on 15, there's a request to refer that matter to Rules and Government Committee.
Okay, if there's no objection on number 15, we'll send that to Rules and Government. And if we can hold 14 on the table for closed session, please.
And do you wish to take up public comment at this time?
That would be great. We have public comment now. 2 minutes per speaker, and we have a clock to help folks guide their time. There's also a code of conduct up there as well to help guide your comments. We have our first speaker is Zuma Dog. After that will be Daniel Wright. Good morning, Mr. Dog.
Yes, firstly, I'd like to say I'm glad Daniel Wright is here, so for the viewers at home, please pay attention because he speaks, I know, a lot about a very important issue, the Southwest Museum, the Autry, Griffith Park. There's some bad things happening in violation of the community plan. But today I'm here to talk about special event fees. Yesterday I went through, the special event fees. I want to explain that it is money that comes out of the general fund. They call them special event fee waivers, but nothing's waived out of the general fund. And yesterday's agenda I went through for different fairs and things. Over $350,000 this city council approved for these little... Okay, and I'm here to tell you that it is in violation of the charter. This is not the purpose of the special event fee waivers to be your slush fund for your little community side projects, front-end loaded management. And if I could please have some quiet, because the city just spent over $300,000 yesterday on street fairs.
Hold on a second.
When they're asking...
Shh. If we could have folks please wind down their conversation so we can listen to public comment. And Mr. Dog, if you can lower your voice too.
We got the showstopper talking, y'all. We got the spotlights hitting something that's been known to change the weather. Can I have your attention, please? The city spent $300,000 yesterday. And these come through every day. There's more special event fees today. It comes out of the general fund. It's only supposed to... Oh, USC. How is a USC football season a special event that is... okay, yes. And so... it's not supposed to be used for this, and that brings me to the next thing, the FBI investigation into Los Angeles City Hall. I'm here to tell you people, the FBI, I've always said that the feds need to get involved because this city council is destroying the city, destroying the region. The things they vote yes on every day is a national safety threat, in my opinion, and now the Federal Bureau of Investigations agrees, and they are in City Hall, and they are looking through the emails, and it's going to be a fishing expedition into what this city council is voting on, and I say we're going to have some special elections before their terms are out.
Our next speaker is Daniel Wright. After that will be Milion Ghebreyesus.
Good morning, Mr. President.
Go ahead, please, Mr. Wright.
Could we restart the clock?
We'll credit your minutes, don't worry.
Thank you. Daniel Wright, 467 Crane Boulevard, on behalf of the Friends of the Southwest Museum. Yesterday, I shared with you a couple of pages from the Autry's expert study that established the fact that it was physically and economically feasible to rehabilitate the Southwest Museum to meet museum standards and to continue its productive service as this city's first and most historic museum. Today, I have distributed to the council members just at one page from a 1999 study by Economic Research Associates, which is the same firm that did the study of the economic viability in this report. That page from 1999 shows that the firm at that time projected that the Southwest Museum was capable of having an attendance between 125,000 and 140,000 people annually. When the same firm, 4 years later, did the projections for this report, somehow the projections dropped to only 46,000 to 64,000 for the same site and the same conditions. The only difference is that this study, which projects a dramatically lower attendance, was prepared under the supervision of Autry management. Even with the lower attendance projections, this expert study of Autry's experts concluded that the museum would perform within normal earned revenues of a museum. People who want to learn more about this controversial issue of taking the Southwest Museum away from its historic site can go to our website, www.friendsofthesouthwestmuseum.com, and there is an intellectual discussion about the ethics and legal issues at www.blackhatblog, all one word, wordpress.com. Please have your staff read these websites. Thank you, council members.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wright. Milion Ghebreyesus is next, and after that is Vicky Carlin. Good morning.
My name is Milion Ghebreyesus. I'm a cab driver, 221 United. I'm out of job almost 2 months. My car get accident, no insurance, the other guy. And I came to sell my car. I borrow money, and I don't have enough money to pay this, they call it commercial taxi, not to park my residence area. I don't have any parking space. And they give me a ticket at night, 3:30 a.m., 2:10 a.m., 1:42 a.m. And a ticket, it costs totally $626, and I don't have money to pay that to get my seal. And I cannot pay also my rent right now. I need help to waive it or to give me this money to seal my car. That's the only thing I ask Mr. Gassi. Thank you.
Thank you. We have someone from the city clerk's office who may be able to assist you in getting the information to the right folks. So we'll make sure, if you just hang out for a second, we'll get you some help, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ghebreyesus. Vicky Carlin is next. After that, we'll go out to Van Nuys and Rick Nightingale. Good morning.
Good morning. You may or may not remember me, but I live in Council District 11 near the Louise Avenue Density Bonus Project that's currently being built, and totally understand that is going forward, and there's nothing we can do about it. But thanks to Councilmember Rosendahl, city planning and the motion that you all reviewed and approved and pushed forward, this city planning is analyzing the zoning on the whole triangle surrounding that density bonus project to look at the current zoning and determine if it's the proper zoning for that area that's right next to single-family residential R1 neighborhood. What I'm here to ask you specifically for is that you do whatever is in your power today to suspend the acceptance of any development applications on those parcels. Those are parcels where there's no current applications that are put in and there's questionable zoning. City planning is under a directive from you to review the zoning on that area, and I would ask that you put a hold on any further development until city planning comes back to you and you vote and accept or reject their recommendation on what the proper zoning is. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, Mr. Rosendahl.
If I could ask our city attorney, because I know I cannot directly react to public comment, but the substance of what the constituent of mine is saying on Louise Avenue is something that is very near and dear to my heart. What can we do with what the citizen has just said?
We can make
Is there
sure
anything?
that somebody from your staff can speak with her right now and resolve the
Well,
issues.
staff's
that are
already
just
met.
up.
I've talked to her.
Okay.
I'm just curious.
You could provide a brief response to what she states, and in addition, staff could talk to her on the side.
Okay, it's just that I strongly believe the city attorney's office needs to step up to the plate on this particular issue and assist the community and me and the planning department in giving us some options in dealing with a very serious issue.
Our office is always willing to assist council offices and departments to resolve these issues.
Okay, so then if the constituent sends an official letter outlining these issues, we can get a response interaction?
Yes.
Great,
Okay.
thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. Our next speaker is in Van Nuys, City Hall, Rick Nightingale, and after that will be Arnold Sachs here in Council Chambers. Good morning, Mr. Nightingale.
Good morning, Rick Nightingale. This is regarding the Wilshire corridor that I read in the paper that they're having these hearings and that, and I believe there's 6 of them, and they're all down in Santa Monica and so forth. I'd like to know why there wasn't a hearing out here in the San Fernando Valley. Like, we're paying for half of it. It's like, hey, people down there, I'd like to put a swimming pool in my backyard. I'd like to help you pay for it. Well, if you're around, come on down and you can swim in it. But, you know, it's down there and I'm living out here. Why is it that everything is downtown? And it's the normal type of situation that the Valley don't get nothing. In L.A., you want this big park and down there at with the hotel and this transit down to the ocean. I mean, what does the Valley get out of the city of Los Angeles? I don't understand it. You take the cops, you take all. We had Devonshire Downs one time years ago that you could have activities. You don't have anything in the Valley. Zippo. There is nothing, arena or anything else that's in the San Fernando Valley, and you have 4-point-some million people, or 2-point-some million people in the San Fernando Valley, and there isn't one basic recreation area in the valley that somebody can go to and do something, except for Woodley Park is the biggest park that's in the San Fernando Valley. I realize that we're getting a lot of stuff over at the west end of the valley that they're trying to make, but boy, we got a lot of malls. I mean, you name the malls and the stores, and boy, we got them, and they're putting millions and millions of dollars. But then on the west end, they wanted to put a sports arena, and everybody, oh, we can't have that. Oh, the traffic's going to be outrageous, so we can't do that. But what do we get out of the city of Los Angeles, and why that we want to pull away from the city of Los Angeles? Because we don't get anything. They don't want to obey the laws to what we want them to do that's on the books. So I'd like to know what you're doing for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nightingale. Our next speaker is Arnold Sachs. After that will be Chuck Tenon. Good morning.
Good morning, City Council. Thank you. I'd also like to address quickly the 72 special events that were listed yesterday in the agenda. A couple of months ago, when I made a suggestion regarding special events and setting a standard, I was told that it would be taken up in the Budget Finance Committee hearings. And I was wondering how that's moving along. It's only 2 months now. Today's Trade and Commerce Lease Committee had a lease regarding some office space in the harbor. It was 300 pages, 41 pages contract, 62 chapters. This is a map. Mr. Nightingale was referring to the hearings regarding the West Side Extension Transit Corridor. I've come before City Council a few times, maybe 100, regarding this map, and I showed this at County Board of Supervisors yesterday, shows an area bounded by Vermont to the harbor, by the Expo line to the Red Line in in Hollywood. No mention of the Mid-City Transit line. Yet the city of Los Angeles has $35 million that it's allocating to the Expo Mid-City Transportation Corridor. Please, you can pick these up at Metro headquarters. Please take a look at it. Please define the area that's included as the Mid-City exposition line that's getting $35 million from the cash-strapped city of Los Angeles. Please tell your constituents to vote for the half-cent sales tax so they can add more money to the mysterious mid-city exposition line trend. Hey, I'm sorry I'm talking, so am I interrupting somebody else's conversation? Should I stop and let them finish theirs?
Go ahead, Mr. Sachs.
I'm waiting. I mean, I don't want to be rude.
We're listening to you, Mr. Sachs. Go ahead. Okay.
I'd
Thank you.
also just like to finish up very quickly. The Trade Tourism Committee was considering taking some action on the living wage ordinance. I have a suggestion there, too. Give yourself a $1.25 pay raise.
Thank you, sir.
And eliminate your health benefits, just like you have the city workers who are following the living wage.
Appreciate your comments today. Chuck Tenon is our next speaker. After Mr. Tenon will be Olga Hall. I ask folks in the audience to please, as much as possible, be respectful as well to the speakers and to keep their voices down. Thank you. Go ahead, sir.
Good morning, council members. I'd like to commend two city council members for their hard-working efforts towards gang prevention and gang intervention in youth programs, Janice Hahn and Herb Wesson. Herb Wesson's Project SAVE, 140 kids were treated to 3 days and 2 nights of camping and fishing at Fort Wesson at Hansen Dam. They were treated to an unforgettable event by Commander Wesson to learn discipline, have fun, experience camping and fishing, plenty of great food, and the opportunity to interact with other kids. It was a huge success. And Janice Hahn's Gang Prevention Task Force took 120 kids from 10 communities in Watts on a deep-sea fishing adventure, Santa Monica Bay, where the kids got to experience a fun day on the water, catch fish, interact with other kids, meet Janice, and now from this experience, each kid is to write a 100-word essay, Stop the Violence, We Can All Live in Peace. Both Janice and Herb are leaders. They care about kids. They care about gang prevention and gang intervention, and they care about the kids who are the future of the city. Channel 35 documented both events as a tool so that the kids can visually share this experience with others. And you know what? What about the rest of the city council? What does it take to motivate the rest of you to do worthwhile programs like these for the kids in this city and your district? They do it, you should do it. That's why they're leaders and they're a protocol to show the rest. I think every district should do that to help kids and prevent gang prevention and do things that can help these kids get on the right path in this city. God bless them. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tenon. Yes, Ms. Hahn?
Thank you. I'd like to make a brief response. Again, I really want to thank Chuck Tenon for being the instigator behind me taking 150 kids fishing, and I know Herb did it first, so actually Herb was my inspiration, but Chuck did a lot to help us organize that trip. And I will tell you, the stories from these young people in Watts, many of whom had never seen the ocean, and certainly many more had never been on a boat in their entire lives. Those kids came back from that day changed, and I think we gave them a glimpse of what's out there in terms of alternatives to join a gang. So thank you, Chuck, for all you did. Thank you, Herb, for being the first person to take the kids deep sea fishing. You were my inspiration, and I certainly followed your lead. I'm going to make it at least an annual event, maybe doing it twice a year.
Thank you, Ms. Hahn. Mr. Wesson, brief response as well? With a very nervous city attorney.
The city attorney is fine. He's smiling at me. So
he knows your 50 words.
I'm adhering to the rules. I just want to thank Chuck. You know, Chuck comes down here all the time, and he's fighting for the rights of tenants or what have you. But you should know that he came out to Hansen Dam, and he cleaned 200 catfish.
Good work.
But I don't think that he finished until 3:30 in the morning, so I just want to publicly thank you for doing that. Even though I was trying to be this great camper and fisherman, I don't know how to clean fish. So thanks,
Absolutely.
Chuck.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tenon. And And in your interest of a lot of programs, there are some other great ones, too, that if you'd like to get involved with in other council districts. We'd love to have your involvement. We appreciate all that you're doing for the city of L.A. Mr. Labange, a brief?
Can I just follow Mr. Wesson on that fisherman story right there, that in your district last night there was a dad and his two sons with fisherman poles walking down the banks of the Los Angeles River, Mr. Reyes, right by the Hyperion Bridge. So I just say it's a good thing that you're doing all this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Labange. Olga Hall is our next speaker for general public comment.
Good morning, council members and
Good morning.
Mr. President. In 1986, the Board of Referred Powers gave Mrs. Jackie Autry 10 acres of city land for $1 a year for 50 years. The rental value of this land is $500 a year, and in 50 years, it will total $25 million. This is a sweet deal for the Autry, but it has cost the city of Los Angeles $11 million to date. Taking over the Southwest Museum through the merger will only benefit the Autry. The gains for the Autry National Center will be immeasurable. 1 billion Native American artifacts collection for free, increase in prestige and credibility, larger attendance for their Griffith Park location, tapping into Native American Indian government grants, liquid assets that can be gained by selling the building and the land of the Southwest Museum. Now, again, the Autry is asking the city for another sweet deal, a permit for an expansion on their site at Griffith Park. The expansion will allow Autry to absorb the Southwest Museum, plus 10 acres of city land in Griffith Park for perpetuity for $1 a year. Will City Hall allow the unnecessary destruction of the first museum of Los Angeles by serving Autry, which is a special interest group, or will they serve the people of Los Angeles by protecting the history and the contents of the first museum in this city, the Southwest Museum? The truth is transparent and stands on itself.
Thank you, Ms. Hall. Appreciate it. Our last speaker, we have one more under the wire, is Michael Carrion. Good morning.
Morning. Welcome back. My name is Michael Carrion, and I'd just like to refresh your memory, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen. When you vote on these gang initiatives, make sure you have somebody on the board that knows something about gangs. Most of the people that sat here when you went on breaks don't know nothing about gangs. They know a little bit about gangs. I don't want to use the word nothing, because everybody has been affected one way or the other. But you have no ex-gang members, you have nobody who's lived that life, nobody who knows really what they need. You have a lot of people, a lot of money being handed out here to people who have never been involved in gangs. You have nonprofit organizations, you have all these people in communities like mine who have family members, husbands, wives, brothers, sisters, all running this place. And it states in their bylaws they're not supposed to. But as long as they don't use the same last name, it's okay, it's acceptable. We hand out more money for gang intervention and prevention, and none of it hits the streets. None of it goes to the people who need this money. Let me rephrase that, a very small portion does. All of it goes to the CBOs, to their wives, their brothers, their children, and you guys are supposed to be checking this. I live in Mr. Weezer's district. The CBOs there have board of directors, husband, wife, everybody except anybody else. All their family members are working there. Is this your way of paying people back? I don't know. I ask myself that all the time I see this. You cannot be handing out all this money to people to get elected. You got to hand this money out to get the job done that you say it's supposed to get done. Because numbers can be run up by anybody. A clown in the circus can tell you that crime rate dropped by 25%. If that's what you want to hear, that's what they'll tell you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Carrion. That will close our general public comment for today. If we can take up items 2 and 3, now that we have 12 members.
And, Mr. President, for the record, the city clerk has submitted a ballot tabulation report on item number 2, and the results are as follows: 91.36% yes, 8.64% no, and there is no majority protest. Council can authorize the assessment.
Okay, so for the Hollywood Business Improvement District, that was a 91.36 yes vote. We can please open the roll both on 2 and 3 together, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
That is approved. Next, first item called special, please.
First item called special, Mr. President, is item number 6, and that was called special by Councilmember Rosendahl.
Mr. Rosendahl, number 6.
Yes, I'd like to have staff come up on this, please. And if they're not here, I want to hold it at the table. Oh, they're here. Great. Good morning. State your name for the record.
Yes, I'm Brent Lorscheider, the Bureau of Sanitation.
Thank you, Fred. What I'd like to do is get an understanding, I think, for the public as well as for my colleagues, of what we're doing here today.
Okay. The Bureau of Sanitation in the city of LA has one of the largest sewer systems in the country, but we still have some areas of the cities that are not sewered. Now, Mandeville Canyon happens to be one of those areas in the city that does not have a public sewer system in it. Several years ago, construction activities in Mandeville Canyon revealed that there's some confusion over how septic systems are sited. Septic systems are used when public sewers are not available. These are on-site systems, and the plumbing code requires that they be at least 100 feet. Back then it used to be 100 feet. The code's been amended to 150 feet now. But the code requires that these systems be 150 feet from any stream. During the siting and construction activities of these properties in Mandeville Canyon, we learned, along with the Regional Water Quality Control Board and the Department of Building and Safety, that there was not a clear understanding as to what the definition of a stream is. And furthermore, it turned out that everybody was using a different set of maps. Yeah. So the Department of Public Works convened a task force to look at this issue of coming up with a uniform definition of streams, and that's the item that is before you this morning. It is to adopt an interim definition of a stream so that these systems can be cited in the future. Now, I want to make it clear that this report does nothing as far as addressing the issues behind the stream protection ordinance, which is now currently under development. That's a much larger effort. That's ongoing with the Department of Public Works and many other stakeholders. But this report is not intended to address that issue of
But it helps us with Mandeville Canyon and the issues there. And I know my colleague Paula Daniels, one of your commissioners, has been quite a leader. She lives in the canyon, and when I first got elected to this position, that was a big issue there,
Yes.
the runoff and what was happening with that and how was it impacting our streams.
Right.
Will we feel more comfortable moving this forward today that Mandeville Canyon will begin to be able to focus on it?
Yes, indeed. What happened with those properties that actually focused our attention on this, those properties, those construction projects require supplemental treatment systems which far exceed the current capabilities of your normal septic system. So that gives an additional degree of protection in that area of Mandeville Canyon.
Good. That's
by requiring those, and 7 systems were required in the canyon.
Yeah, we appreciate that. And I have a few questions, just basic questions, and a couple more comments. How many septic systems are there in the city of Los Angeles?
We estimate about 13,000 to 14,000 spread throughout the city. There's a very large concentration in Council District 2, approximately 4,000. Typically, they're found in areas, foothills, hillside areas that are far away from the large developments.
So that in mind would kind of infer my second question. Why would a family use a septic system instead of connecting to the city sewer lines? I mean, the city sewer line might not be there?
That's correct. It might not be there, or the house or the property was developed and constructed before the city sewer line came along.
Right. And my last one on that same point is, how will this policy ensure that these septic systems do not leak into our sensitive waterways?
Well, that allows me to segue into another effort that we are also embarking on. The Regional Water Quality Board has required all of its agencies to enter into MOU agreements that will basically begin to start to regulate all septic systems throughout not only the region, but it's actually a state requirement. In sanitation, we will be coming forward to your council with a proposed ordinance to begin requiring frequent inspections and permits and certified documentation to ensure that all of our systems are properly constructed, maintained, and operated. And we'll be coming forward to you with that recommendation probably in the next year or so.
Great, and we look forward to that, and also coming before my committee of Public Works to get us more thoroughly engaged as a council in it. Last question, not this particular moment here, but you mentioned in charge of the sewer system in the city. Our sewer system is old and decrepit. It's a lot like our electric grid. Do you know the status of our overall sewer system and what we really need to do in the future about it?
Well, it is old. We don't like to think of it as too decrepit, but we are focusing a lot of attention toward upgrading it and addressing the most decrepit portions of it. As you know, we entered into a 10-year settlement agreement with the EPA and some other plaintiffs over a lawsuit over the sewer spill. So as a result of that, we have a very ambitious sewer renewal program. We've been going through the entire system systematically, cleaning it, and then running television cameras through to inspect it. And now we're identifying the areas that need to be replaced or renewed, and we're systematically trying to renew about 60 miles a year for the next probably decade or so. And we're into the first couple years of that program, and we are also at the same time aggressively cleaning and identifying areas that have spill histories. And as a result of that, our spills have gone down about 75% over the last 4 or 5 years.
Well, thank you for that. And when we go back into committee, not in full council, I want to get a better description of how many miles of sewer system we have and what the status is. I know that San Diego has done some more proactive work that maybe we could look at, but I appreciate your report today. Okay. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Mr. Labange and then Mr. Reyes.
How are you? Are you back in the field of sanitation?
I'm back.
Where were you?
I've always been in sanitation.
Where were you, though? Were you on loan to anybody?
No, I just keep a low profile.
You do keep a low profile. I don't know. You said 4,000 homes in the East San Fernando Valley are without. You sure that's a correct number? I heard a higher number, so you know it's...
No, that's just Council District 2.
No, but I understand that there because there was a big problem, you know, and this you got, members, if you look at this table right here, he's looking at a map. I just want to let you know, whoever's had an ITA, we should be using these big screens here with some technology so we could understand it. Mr. Rosendahl, we're 100 years old. All over the city right now, and they're working in the Hollywood-Wilshire area. You have pipe contractors correcting leaky sewers. There are leaky sewers. Some of this is money from FEMA from the 1994 earthquake. Is that correct?
Well, we've finished up all of the FEMA money from the earthquake.
All right.
We're done with that now.
So you're using the sewer service charge that the people paid for?
Yeah.
If I was the city sewer system as I stand here right now, would I be leaking anywhere?
No, I don't think so.
You don't think so?
But you might have a few pipes that are partially clogged and that could create overflows unless we get in there and routinely clean them, which is what we do.
Okay. Well, this is news. I'm getting news from you then. Let me ask you another question. On the tanks that people have in their individual homes?
Yeah.
Will we ever have a date, like 2015, you must become online? Or are we going to just live with septic tanks in those neighborhoods? Because eventually they all come into the system, the ecological system.
We'd like to see everybody eventually hook up to the sewer system. We think that's, the best way to go. It is unfortunately quite expensive for a property owner to do that.
Right. It's if I'm a private property, all right, I'm now not the sewer system, I'm a house, and you're the middle of the street. It could cost up to $10,000 from where I stand to where you sit right now to connect to the city main, and it's an awful shock to people when they learn it's that. And it could be a city tree that roots choke that pipe. So I just want to see us help people more. We're an older city now, and this is going to be another whack that people are going to get unless we do it right, whatever we do. But I'm glad to hear that you don't think we're leaking too much.
We're not leaking too much.
But we don't have a date, though, that in 2020, wherever you live, you got to be on a city sewer system.
No, we don't.
Let me ask Mr. Rosendahl, you're the chairman of Public Works. Should we have a date like 2020 that every house should be on a sewer system?
Well, Mr. Labange, it's a good point, and I like our dialogue here. It might not make sense for everybody to be part of that, but the most important thing we need to do is, A, evaluate our entire sewer system. We need to look at all of our septic tank systems and how it works and how it deals with the Clean Water Act. And what we're doing here specifically was dealing with Mandeville Canyon, which has been a big issue. But you got a good point that we need to address the issues overall of septic tanks, and a lot of them are leaking throughout the city, and a lot of areas they've not even been contacted by anybody. We did that in my district because Paula Daniels and I both are part of the Mandeville Canyon. That's why we made it special today, so we could have a conversation like this.
I appreciate that. I see Roger Hayes right here from ITA. I want some ability for a good man from sanitation to punch a computer and to be able to inform the city council on what's out there, and even have a little video screen which shows us. Have you ever looked down a drain?
Yes, I have. It's amazing.
So
I've
it
done
is
it with a
amazing
camera,
to see.
too. Yeah.
Right. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Labange. Mr. Reyes.
Thank you, Council President. First, thank you for all your work and your hard services there and ensuring infrastructure stays intact. But a few years back, we had a landslide in the Northeast Hills in Mount Washington. And everyone assumed there was a construction site, but actually it was a septic tank that had rotted out. And with a little bit of rain and moisture, it just blew open and the whole hill slid down upon the construction site. And this was about, I'd say, 8-9 years ago. But I have yet to see a map, and we're hoping there's something available where we can see where these septic tanks are located, at least the ones you're aware of. Because I'm assuming there are septic tanks out there that we're not even aware of. Would that be accurate?
That is accurate. And yeah, we can provide you with a map of those that we are aware of.
If I could get something that reflects the hills in the Northeast, they tend to be the older neighborhoods. This is where the city is growing at the turn of the century. You have folks building houses up in the hills that have been torn down, but they must have had some kind of a system in there. I just want to see what is out there, because as we go through our effort to preserve our open space, we need to know what is really, how can I say this, untainted land versus land that's been dealt with because of the changes in the infrastructure.
Yeah.
So you do have something that is?
We do. We have a map, and we've conducted a survey of these 13,000 or so that we believe are out there. About 9,000 responded, and so we do have that information as well. And then as far as the collapse goes, that's exactly the kind of problem we're going to try to address with the ordinance that I talked about bringing forward in about a year, whereby through periodic inspection they would discover these deficiencies beforehand and could address them probably in a cheaper manner too than waiting until they have a catastrophic failure. So that's something that we want to try to incorporate into that ordinance.
And just one last question. When we use the word streams, there's been a movement where folks say we want to daylight some of our streams. We've covered them and we've created these different, we've changed the topography and the way the watershed works. this is a whole different type of stream, right? This is, I mean, am I correct?
Yeah. What we've had to do is go out in the field and when we've mapped our streams for this action and follow those courses, both the natural courses and the ones that humans have made, and try to plot the alignment of all of those different changes.
Okay, okay. Well, thank you, sir. Look forward to that information.
Thanks.
Mr. Zion.
Thank you, Mr. President. The West San Fernando Valley, how many do you have in the West San Fernando Valley on septic tanks?
West?
District 3. Roscoe to Mulholland, Valley Circle to White Oak.
CD3 has about 1,100.
1,100.
Yeah.
What's happening is people are buying old homes, and they then decide to put a new home on that lot. They then discover that they're on a septic tank, and I think the hookup is $10,000, if I'm not mistaken, to hook up to the sewer pipes.
That's probably a bargain.
So we've got sewer installation in that area. When it was first developed, they were all on septic tanks. And the requirement now in the city is if you establish a new residence where there's a septic tank, you must hook up to the sewer line, correct?
If the sewer's available.
If the sewer's available.
If it's within 200 feet of your property.
And if it's not?
Then you're allowed to stay on septic system. But
for how long?
Well, right now there's nothing on the horizon that would prevent you from staying on it for.
So that's one of the concerns I have, is that I had a request to do a waiver, which I didn't do. It was less than 200 feet. They didn't want to go to the expense of hooking up to the sewer pipe, which is modern technology. That's what we're using. And to avoid that, I don't know what the builder did with the particular residence, but the concern I have is citywide. How many do we have throughout the city of Los Angeles, the total number of structures on sewer, on the septic tanks?
13 to 14,000.
13 to 14,000. And is there a contamination threat with that?
Yeah, some of these are potential threats in as much as they're close to either certain water bodies or streams like the Mandeville stream that we've just talked about.
Are we doing anything to address that?
In wet weather, they become more of a threat when we get a lot of surface runoff, and then they can flood the tank and start to bring the contents up to the surface. Under dry weather, though, they're pretty well contained.
Well, we've had a lot of dry weather, but sometimes we got rainy weather.
Yeah.
And the concern I have is in the environmental issue of the contamination to our underground water, to our streams. There's never been a proposal to move forward to convert to the sanitation system that we have in place?
Well, as part of that proposed ordinance that we'll be bringing forward, we are going to identify the high-risk systems that are close to streams or water bodies.
I'm talking about all of them, whether it's 200 feet or more, that it would all be converted eventually to the system that we have in place for the protection of the public health.
We can look at that, I think, as a policy, but I think ultimately that's going to have to come down to a decision on whether the city wants to impose that kind of fiscal burden on its property owners. The costs that you're looking at could vary from $30,000 to $70,000, maybe even more.
I understand the existing ones that already are on the septic tank, but a new construction where there is...
Oh, yes, definitely.
A remodel or something that... I'm not talking about someone who's lived in their home for 50 years and we're going to assess them $70,000 to hook up to the sewer pipe.
No, I was confused. If we're talking about new construction, definitely if there's a new sewer available to them, they are required to use that sewer.
And that's the policy citywide?
Yes.
Do we have many of those going through the system?
Thank you, Mr. Zion.
Do we have many?
Do we have many of those going through the system?
Yes, I think that with the recent construction activity, there's been a number that have gone through building and safety and have been permitted and connected to the sewer.
And one more quick one.
Last question.
This is the last one. Is there a requirement that they empty that every so often so it doesn't overflow? That septic tank? Is there any requirement by law on the emptying I know it's supposed to leach into the soil.
The city does not have a requirement. That's one of the things we want to incorporate in that new
Okay,
ordinance.
thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Garcetti, for your patience and your indulgence.
Our next speaker is Mr. Labange for a second time. Our last speaker on the queue.
Mercedes Marquez from our housing department put out a very thorough report on the challenges of the foreclosure, and that's a form that you could look at. Why don't you call her and look at her report on foreclosures, then transpose it to a report on the sewer system. Okay, it was very simple. It wasn't, the housing department's report. Okay, and also the other thing I wanted to say, members, and I know Mr. Zine just spoke on that issue. 8 years ago, I was at the Department of Water and Power, and we talked about all water is recycled. Is that correct?
It'd be nice if all water was...
All water is recycled.
Well, yeah. The grand
you're an
scheme of
engineer,
things.
aren't you?
Yes.
You are an engineer. You have your degree, right?
Yes.
All water is recycled.
Yes, there's
And
no
one of our
water.
challenges in the San Fernando Valley is a recycled project that we did have that never was put online in the Sepulveda Basin for recharging the aquifers in there.
Right.
One of our challenges is in the East San Fernando Valley is that when homes are in a high number, whether it's 4,000, I thought it was much more than that, or not on a sewer system, they do ultimately get into the water table. Is that correct? If you're an engineer, but if you're not a specialist when it comes to water and moving, you may not be able to answer that.
Well, the septic systems are designed so that the biological activity in the surrounding soil mimics what nature does with all of its own systems.
Right.
Biologically, it removes those contaminations.
Anyway, I just think it's real important to see where we are, see what's ahead, see what we've done, too, because we've done a lot. So look at that report. It's trying to copy it, and try to, when do you have to come up with this? When did Mr. Rosendahl ask you to come up with this report?
The ordinance?
No, just what's going on in the sewer system.
I'm not sure when he wanted that.
Well, he's not here, so what do you do in 30 days, huh? Nothing like the present time. You're sharp. You can get it done, right?
How about 60?
60 days is it. Thank you.
A very shrewd negotiation. With that, go ahead and open the roll on this, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Okay, that is
13 ayes.
approved. All right.
Next item, Mr. President, is item number 11. That was called special for cards.
Okay, item 11. Mr. Arnold Sachs on item 11.
Good morning again, Arnold Sachs. Thank you. Directional signs. The council is going to take some action on directional signs. I've come before the council. I know that this has also appeared in your disability committee hearings. They're looking to get some kind of directional signs for pickup regarding access services. So if you're considering directional signs for the Los Angeles Philharmonic Association as they're part of their donation, maybe you could look to consider directional signs for the patrons who might be forced to use access services, where they would be located around the Philharmonic Hall, the Taper Forum, the Mark Taper Theater, the Forum, the Kodak Theater, all the arenas and agendas that would have multiple exits and that would have use or would be visited by people who use access services or need mobility assistance. They could get some directional signs for pickups. And by the way, there's a $500,000 hidden in the city council chambers. All you have to do is look under your seat for the lucky number, and maybe you'll win it. Oh, that didn't work either. It seems like everybody's paying attention here. Again, thank you for your time, your answers, and your attention.
Thank you very much. If we have no council members who wish to be heard on this item, Madam Clerk, if you'll please open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
That is approved. Next item, please.
Next item is item 12, and that was also called special for card.
All right, Mr. Dogg.
Yes, thank you very much. This is what I believe to be one of the most important issues because we're talking about a ballot measure. So the city of Los Angeles is going to be going to you, the voters, asking you to change a law. And I don't like the change. So if everybody at home could please pay attention, it's a ballot argument about Proposition B. Now here's why council needs to vote no on this and not allow this to get on the ballot. This will open you up to massive lawsuits. I've already been contacted by people when they heard I was writing the ballot argument against this affordable housing measure, and they say, Zuma, give us a call when you're done writing the argument. There's massive lawsuits. This is total violation of the law. Here's what the city wants you to do, people. They're saying we cannot build any more affordable housing in the city unless you vote yes on this Prop B. However, what they aren't telling you is that what the primary goal is from a memo obtained by Zoom at Times from Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa's office, the primary goal of getting this passed is to allow the Prop 1C money to go to the Grand Avenue Cement Park. That's right, people. You've heard about the Prop 1C money for emergency housing and shelter for battered women, veterans, elderly, and disabled. And that voter-approved money, the city of Los Angeles has to put Prop B on the ballot for you to vote yes, so that money can be taken and given to the Grand Avenue Project Cement Park, owned by the family of Dubai and related corporations, subsidized. And they're saying if you don't do this, now here's the problem why you should not put this on the ballot. It's intentfully deceiving. It says you must vote yes for workforce housing. The reason they want to do this is because currently they are not allowed to have unfettered and unrestricted construction. The mayor's memo says we are limited, we cannot have unfettered and unrestricted construction. Well, of course you can't, dummies, because you can't have unfettered and unrestricted construction. So vote no on Prop B.
Thank you. As a clarification, Mr. Dogg, this is not voting on putting on the ballot. This is voting on the ballot arguments, which include your own arguments as well, I believe, on the negative side. So with that, let's go ahead and open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
That will move forward. Next item, please.
Next item is item 13, and that was called special for cards.
Mr. Dogg, item 13.
For clarification, yes, these two are not for on the ballot. This is for approval of the ballot argument, I believe, of which I'm saying I'm against because it will open the city up for lawsuits. That was for the affordable housing. Now we're up to the gang tax. First of all, I'd like to say we no longer need this gang parcel tax because the headlines of the Daily News says, safest summer since 1967. Oh, gee, I'd like everybody to know Daily News says we got the safest summer since 1967. So first of all, we don't even need a gang parcel tax because the streets are safe. Secondly, I'd like to say to City Council, you can't fish your way out of this. I am sick to my stomach. I hope I don't vomit all over this podium.
Sir, if you will please lower your voice. Mr. Dogg. Mr. Dogg. This is your last warning. Sir, will you please lower your voice and address us in a civil tone? Thank you.
And if everybody could please be quiet while I speak, because the whole city tunes in to hear it, because I represent all these people. And what I'm here to say is I'm sick to my stomach and hope I don't puke on this podium when Los Angeles City Council pats each other on the back for their fishing expedition. Hey, we took people fishing, and they got off that boat, and they've been changed, and they have an alternative to gang violence.
Sir, please lower your voice.
Thank you. If the council member Labange could lower his voice, everybody else, that's why I'm talking loud. But you can't fish your way out of this, and to sit here and say, hey, we took this person fishing. Oh, I went fishing too. Oh, I'm going to go fishing. It's an alternative to gang violence. That's what these people think. They think they can fish their way out of it and warm and fuzzy their way out of it. I say you vote no on this gang parcel tax too, because the money doesn't make it into the hands. We have Michael Carrion who told you it goes to their friends and their relatives and their managers, and it doesn't go to the streets. And then you come and ask for property taxes to tax the property owners, and then you say we got to do this hike and that hike and triple this and triple that. The money doesn't make it into the streets. This is pathetic to sit here and say you're going to fix it.
Thank you, Mr. Dogg. That will close our public comment on this one. If we can please open the roll and tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
That is approved. Next item, please.
Mr. President, the next items would be the closed session item.
Okay. Do we have a special one that's been introduced? It's not. Mr. Parks, we have a closed session item and just yours left, but it hasn't been circulated yet. Would you like us to go into closed session first? Okay. That means we'll have to clear the room and then come back. Okay? Now, in accordance with California state law, we will go into closed session. We do have on item 15, which was continued. We did have a card on that. Sorry, that was referred to Rules and Government. So we just have number 14. So in accordance with California state law, we will now go into closed session, discuss items that are before us, and we will come back into open session just after. Thank you. We are back in open session while we are waiting the special one. Has that been circulated yet? Do folks have any announcements of a business nature? Okay, let's vote on the closed session item first. We have that settlement before us.
And, Mr. President, the settlement is 80% permanent disability, $118,795 plus a life pension thereafter, payable at $77.31 per week.
Okay. Please open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
That is approved. Folks, are there any announcements at this time for committee meetings or any business items? If not, we are still awaiting special one before us. Okay, we will sit tight, colleagues, for about 3 minutes, we're told, until special one is before us. Otherwise, our business is concluded besides adjourning motions. So just hold tight. Mr. Rosendahl?
President, some of you might have read in the Los Angeles Times today Steve Hyman's piece that talked about trains and rails and light rails and a series of public hearings that are taking place. And I just want to announce that tonight from 6 to 8 at the Santa Monica Public Library, which is 601 Santa Monica Boulevard, will be a public hearing to talk about some of the subway ideas that are floating around in MTA. Besides the mayor's Subway to the Sea, which has had an outstanding new leadership energy in the last 2 years, thanks to Antonio Villaraigosa, there are other thoughts about running a subway down Santa Monica Boulevard that would connect West Hollywood. There's talks about a connection to Cedars-Sinai Hospital. They're talking about ways in which we can get out of our dramatic traffic absolute paralysis on the west side. This wouldn't happen today, but the public hearing tonight is going to outline some suggestions for several subways interacting and interfacing. And once the public begins to appreciate that, and so far the public response has been incredibly positive, Not only do they have to send sales tax idea, but to this concept of more subways and tying them together. So if you have the time tonight and you're out there from 6 to 8, if you live in the west side, go to Santa Monica, would you? And go over to 601 Santa Monica Boulevard to the Santa Monica Public Library and hear this presentation. It's just the beginning of how we can get out of the incredible paralysis on the west side. Thank you, Mr. President, for that.
Thank you. We now have a special one before us. Mr. City Attorney on the findings.
Thank you, Mr. President. Since the posting of today's agenda, the LAPD has linked one suspect by DNA evidence as being involved in the murders of 9 victims since 1985. Immediate action is required in order to apprehend the suspect as soon as possible for the safety of the community, and thus council has before it a motion which includes 9 offers of reward.
Any other members on the findings? Not, please open the roll on the findings, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Pursuant to Rule 23 of the Council rules, we now have this item before us. I'd like to recognize the maker of the motion, Mr. Parks, and then Ms. Perry.
Madam, Mr. President, let me ask Captain Dennis Crimmins to come up and give us an overview of the city's 9 cases and how they've gotten to this point. And after he speaks, I'd like to ask Porter Alexander and Mary Alexander, the parents of one of the victims, to come up and make some comments.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Dennis Crimmins. I'm the commanding officer.
If you'd like to come to the table, Mr. Crimmins, you're welcome to come here as a city employee. If you'd like to come forward, it might be a number of questions for you, too. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Garcetti. My name is Dennis Crimmins. I'm the commanding officer of Robbery and Homicide Division, and I'm here at the behest of Councilman Parks and Councilwoman Jan Perry regarding a reward motion. And this has to do with a serial murder investigation in which 9 cases inside the city of Los Angeles have been linked. There's another one in the city of Inglewood, another one in the unincorporated area of the sheriff's territory, making a total of 11 victims that we have identified so far. We also have 1 surviving victim, so it makes 12 victims, although 11 are homicide victims. And they've been linked through the years. It started in 1985, and they've been linked over the years through analysis of ballistics and more recently DNA. And we're still trying to access DNA databases, and as the technology has evolved, we're trying to take advantage of those developments. But I'm here to give you information concerning this, and we're hoping that through the offering of reward that people who heretofore may not have come forward but may know something about any one of these homicides may feel compelled to give information to the Los Angeles Police Department in an effort to solve these.
Captain Crimmins, can you give for the public consumption the names of the victims that you're currently aware of?
Yes,
and I know
sir.
there's one that you've kept unnamed, but if you just for the public consumption to know what cases we're talking about.
Yes, these homicides began in the first one was in 1985, and that was victim Deborah Jackson. And I will just go through the names of the victims and the year which they were which it occurred.
And also, could you add the location?
Certainly, yes. Deborah Jackson was found in August of 1985 in the alley, the rear of 1017 West Gage Avenue. Also in August of 1986, victim Henrietta Wright, W-R-I-G-H-T, was found at 2514 Vernon Avenue, also in an alley. The third victim we're able to establish a linkage is Mr. Thomas Steele, S-T-E-E-L-E, and he was found at 71st and Halldale, and this occurred in 1986. Barbara Ware, W-A-R-E, was found at 1356 East 6th Street in an alley, and this happened in 1987. Victim Bernita Sparks was found at 9414 Southwestern in an alley, and that occurred also in 1987. In 1987 as well, victim Mary Lowe, L-O-W-E, was found in the alley rear of 8927 South Hobart. The sheriff's case, let me just give you the spelling of the name instead of trying to pronounce it. I believe it's Lucretia Jefferson, L-A-C-H-R-I-C-A, and pardon my mispronunciation, Jefferson. And she was found January of 1988 in the alley to the rear of 2049 West 102nd Place. Next victim is Alicia Monique Alexander. Her parents spoke to the press earlier today. She was found at 1720 West 43rd Place, also in an alley, and that was in 1988. We have another one established in delinquents in the city of Inglewood, and that is Princess Bertholmew, and I'll spell the last name, Berthomieux, and she was found in the alley to the rear of 8121 Van Ness, and that was in 2002, I believe. In 2003, the next victim was Valerie McCorvey, M-C, capital C-O-R-V-E-Y, was found in the alley between 108th and 109th Streets. That was in June of 2003. And the last victim in this series, the last homicide victim in this series, Janicia Peters, J-A-N-E-C-I-A, Peters, common spelling, and she was discovered January the 1st of 2007 in the alley to the rear of 9508 Southwestern Avenue.
Thank you very much. Let me ask the parents of Miss Alexander, Mary Alexander, Porter Alexander, to come up to the podium, and you could make your personal for assistance in solving your daughter's case.
Good morning, and thank you for taking the time to be here.
Yes, good morning to the City Council. I'm Porter Alexander, Jr., here to let you know how we feel in hopes that you will feel the same as far as trying to grant whatever it needs to apprehend this fool out here that's causing all this harm to the young ladies here that have lost their lives, including my daughter. It seems as though that when this first happened in 1988, the investigation that took place and that was taking place to us felt that they wasn't pursuing it as we felt that should be, because this person was just constantly doing what he was doing and getting away within a mile radius of South Central Los Angeles, placing the bodies. And so I feel that this person was very familiar with the area because he was doing it in a way which is not too far from one another. Everything was in, like I say again, within a mile and a half radius of the area in which we lived. So we are now hoping that the investigation that is ongoing now will uncover and bring this person to justice. Hoping that everything that they have started out would not be in vain, and that we will find some closure as a family, because we lost my baby, and it was very dear to me. My whole family, and as far as that goes, was dear to me. And we was a family that we did things together. It was something that we didn't just let things be. We was out there trying to make things happen as a family in a community. The community can tell you that all the families around us, including in the neighborhood, anyone that wanted to get with us and go out and enjoy outdoors, they was welcome at any given time. So we was a family that looked for happiness. We didn't go out there looking for trouble. And trouble just came upon us, but we didn't go out there trying to create nothing. All we're trying to do is make the area around us safe, and that we wanted the kids to be that way too. And when this drug hit us in 1988, the infestation of drugs hit this area, South Central, it just blew up. It just turned everything into a chaos. Something that, as a family, as we were, was not able to cope with, because we, being a working family as we were, having to work, trying to maintain the family. Consequently, our youngsters had a chance to do things that we were not able to combat at the time. But not making no excuses. It's just that trying to raise a family and the elements that was being presented to us became very rough and tiring sometimes, but yet we did not short our kids at all in any given time. We tried to make sure they were there and had the things that possibly could help them generate a better life. And we're just so sad that it had to end up losing one of my kids. So I thank you for listening to me, and here's my wife.
Thank you very much. Ms. Alexander?
Good morning, Counselor.
Good morning.
My name is Mary Alexander. Monique was our youngest daughter. Well, she was our baby. And she was loved by everyone that she met. And I hope and pray that someone out there has heard something or seen something, and they will call the police and let them know. It has to be someone, somewhere. No matter how simple it may seem, something you may remember, please call them. And I beg of you, call them, because we're hurting. And to come up with this again, to start this, it's hard, but it needs to be done. I hurt dearly, but I want it to end, to come to an end, finding whoever this has been doing this. I hope they get them before someone else, some other parents lose their child. And I thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Parks?
Could you give a number for the public to call if they have any information?
Yes. The public, if they have any information, we encourage them to call 1-800-LAWFUL, LAWFULL, or they can contact Robbery Homicide Division at area code 213-485-2135.
Thank you. And colleagues, I'd like to make just one verbal amendment to the motion. We inadvertently added Ms. Jefferson, if I understand. She's the Inglewood case.
Yes, sir.
Okay. We should strike that name, but there are two names of cases in the city. We should add Valerie McCorvey in 2003, and also is it Janera Peters in 2007. So that would make a total of 10 cases in the city. I'd also like to make a verbal motion that although these cases are linked by forensic evidence, there's no assurance that the same suspect is involved in each case. So we're moving that we have a $50,000 reward on each of our cases, but I'd like to put one verbal motion that aggregate of maximum of $200,000 for any one person coming forward, so that we maintain the $50,000 per case if there are individual witnesses that bring those cases to closure, but an aggregate of $200,000 for any one individual.
Thank you, Mr. Parks. Ms. Perry is our next speaker.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, and I appreciate what Mr. Parks has done here today, and thank you to the family. And Captain Kremens is someone I worked with for a while over in Newton Division, so I know he has a highest standard of excellence and ability and capacity to work on these complex issues related to the serial killing taking place in South Los Angeles. But aside from all the software, aside from all the files, the fastest way for us to resolve this is for someone to come forward and give us information. There's nothing more straightforward and easier to grasp than the words from somebody who saw something, somebody who knows something, someone who just may remember something. And so I hope that they heed what has been said here today, and I know that the telephone number has been said a number of times, not only in the press conference, but here in the chamber today. So I think we all beseech and ask anybody who's listening or watching to please help us bring peace to the victims, families, and to bring peace to our community and to help us solve these horrendous crimes.
Thank you very much, Ms. Perry, and thank you, Mr. Parks and Mr. Perry. City Attorney, would you like to?
And, Mr. President, I'd also recommend in the body of the motion changing references to a single reward to plural rewards.
Okay. Without objection, we'll change that to plural rewards with an S instead of single reward. With that, let's go ahead and open the roll. Please close the roll and tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
That is approved. We'll send that forthwith to the mayor for his signature right away without objection. And thank you again for members of the community and the families who took time out of their days to be here. We thank you for your patience. We thank you very much for your understanding. We'll do everything we can to continue to get to the heart of this. With that, Madam Clerk, next order of business, please.
Council has motions for posting and referral.
Ms. Perry?
5 forthwith, please.
Okay, if we can send 5 forthwith without objection, and we will post and refer the motions.
And that clears the desk.
Okay. Does anybody have any adjourning motions today? Okay, if I can ask everybody in council chambers to please rise for our adjourning motions. If I can ask everybody to please rise for adjourning motions, please. Thank you. We'll start with Ms. Gruhl.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Colleagues, we, I know, talked about this passing earlier, but wanted to officially do it. This is for Jerry Lushing. Jerry Lushing passed away on August 17, 2008, after a long and valiant battle with cancer. Jerry was born in Los Angeles on November 4th, 1929, and was raised in the San Fernando Valley. He graduated from North Hollywood High School in 1947 and in UCLA in 1951 as a civil engineering major. While at UCLA, he was a member of the local labor union and worked on subdivisions. Upon his graduation, Jerry served in the U.S. Air Force, reaching the rank of corporal. Jerry became a general contractor and co-founded Marlboro Development Corporation in 1952, which built over 25,000 custom homes in Southern California and Arizona. Later, he was an active commercial and residential real estate investor. He devoted his life to serving the greater community. His involvements included the City of Beverly Hills Commission, President Traffic and Parking, Fine Arts, and Greystone Park, the Board of Governors of the Cedars-Sinai Medical Center, Director of City National Bank, past President and Board Member, Western Region of the Weizmann Institute of Science, the Vice President of Major Gifts and Corporate Development, Stop Cancer Board of Directors, Maple Center, Vista Del Mar, the Lushing Building Day Treatment Center, honoree, Zimmer's Children's Museum, Hillcrest Country Club, United Jewish Fund, Jewish Home for the Aging, Bet Sheva, and University of Judaism, the Sculpture Garden. He was a founding member of MOCA, LACMA, and the Music Center. He will be missed beyond measure. He was a one-of-the-kind and touched the hearts of all who knew him. His family and caring friends will mourn his dynamic presence always. In lieu of flower donations may be made, in lieu of flowers, donations may be made to the Stop Cancer or Art of the Brain at UCLA. Attention, Dr. Timothy Closey of the Neuro-Oncology. He is survived by his wife of 47 years, Gloria, his children, Nancy, Robert Dean, Glenn Freeman, his wife Karen, Linda, and her husband Howard Greller, and Michael Lushing, and grandchildren Andrew, Stephen, and Rachel Dean, Lauren, Brian, and Joey Freeman, Jeffrey Spencer, Stephanie and Garrett Greller, and Margot and Justin Lushing. He was predeceased by his parents and his sister. Joey Freeman, his grandson, was an intern for me, and we send our loving prayers to he and his family.
Thank you. Ms. Hahn.
Thank you. Colleagues, the very first woman on the West Coast to be inducted into ILWU as a longshoreman, the obituary said, but as a longshore worker, Billy Ann Padilla passed away very suddenly at the age of 54. And she was from a long line of proud longshore workers and loved her job. You know, when women first worked on the docks, they really had a lot to prove and a lot to overcome. But through Billy Ann and many of the women that followed her, they proved that women were just as valuable and just as hardworking and equal as men out on the docks. She's survived by her husband, Al Campos, Uncle Ray Ortiz, her children, Billiana, Antonio, Samantha, Matthew, Ashley, Nicole, as well as her niece and nephew, Katrina and Nick, who she also helped to raise. Her services will be this Friday morning at 11 a.m. at the Green Hills Memorial Chapel in Rancho Palos Verdes. We owe Billy Ann really a huge debt of gratitude for paving the way and being a real pioneer out on those docks and making it possible for many women today to be a part of the Longshore Union.
Thank you. Other adjourning motions? Mr. Zine, you have some?
Garcetti. Mr. Rosenthal is going to join me in this request that we adjourn in memory of Thomas R. Rowe. The family owns Buffy's Tow, also Delray Tow. It's a police garage in Pacific Division. I knew Tom, worked around him for many years. Longtime resident of North Hills, passed away Tuesday, August 26th, was riding his motorcycle when he was involved in a traffic collision on the San Diego Freeway, was involved in many philanthropic activities in the Valley and in the South Bay. He was 55 years of age when he passed away, survived by his mother, Bobby, his wife, Sue, who was his high school sweetheart, 2 sons, Kevin and Chris, 1 daughter, Kelly, 2 brothers, and 6 grandchildren. May he rest in peace.
Yes.
His tow truck business that he was part of is in my district, and he was an active member in the community there as well, and he'll be terribly missed.
Thank you. Mr. Alacon as well. Any other adjourning motions? If not, Madam Clerk, please call the roll. We will next be in Van Nuys City Council Chambers on Friday. That is the 5th of September. That will be in Van Nuys City Council Chambers. We look forward to seeing you all then. Have a great rest of the day and a good Thursday. We'll see you Friday. This meeting of the Los Angeles City Council is hereby adjourned.
LA City View Channel 35. Your city, your channel.